Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Amberian. Take a Chance, a metal tribute to ABBA, out December 2nd on Napalm Records. The album has 11 tracks, 43 minutes in length, and this is the band's 10th studio album. They are a Finnish symphonic power metal band. From a design point of view, this album is a compilation, so it's simple. There's not much to say. It's not a record that offers a journey, that puts together a path. No, it just lives off of the quality of the individual songs, and by bringing 11 great songs together, you're therefore creating a great record all around. Having said that, the opening track and the closing track are very important. You want two songs as those two bookends that offer similar attributes, that have energy, that are upbeat, that have movement, that push the listener forward. And you start off with Super Trouper and you finish with Lay All Your Love on Me. These two songs, while different, have similar styles in terms of how the listener interacts with them. So you have a great song to start off the record, and then you have this great song at the end that almost propels you back to the beginning of the album, because after you listen to that track, you feel like you haven't had enough. These two songs play an important role, but outside of them, the overall design, it doesn't really matter. You can move the songs around, nothing really changes. That's the beauty of a record like this. That's the beauty of a compilation. As far as the sound is concerned, this record obviously has metal into it, but it doesn't have as much metal as I was expecting. I was expecting perhaps a little bit more power on the guitars. I was expecting perhaps a little bit more of the guitars taking a lead role in terms of the sound and the composition of the songs are concerned, and that's not the case. Actually, I felt like the guitars all around were perhaps the least important element in the overall construction and the overall sound experience that this record offers. The album has a very blended approach. They took the original songs and then they enhanced certain attributes, specifically the drums more so than the guitars, in order to add that metal sound to what the original material didn't have. But that's about it. They didn't change too much. When you listen to this album, and the more you listen to this album, the more you forget about the metal side of the record, and the more it feels like you're just listening to ABBA with obviously a different vocalist, but a vocalist that nailed every single track as well. So the sound experience of this record is really interesting from that perspective, because the metal part of the album is completely blended into the overall sound, and it's not what drives the songs. The songs drive themselves because of all the attributes that they have. The keyboards play a huge role on this record. The drums play a lesser role, but an important one nevertheless. And in between, you'll have the guitars. Now, as far as the keyboards are concerned, I enjoyed the bridge that they created between the original tracks and how they wanted these tracks to sound. It still has the Amberian DNA on them, but it also carries the DNA of the original song forward. That usage of the keyboards on this record is very important because it blends that sound. One of the reasons why the sound sounds so together, you don't feel as much of the metal presence as you do, is because of those keyboards, because of how they allow you to forget about how heavy some of the tracks have become, how much thickness the guitars have, because you're concentrating on that beauty, you're concentrating on that melody, and you're concentrating on that almost original sound that the tracks put forward. So the keyboards on this record play a very important role through and through. On the other end of the spectrum, you have the drums. The drums obviously give some thickness to the sound. They add some texture and they give some substance. They make the tracks feel less popish, or they make the tracks feel less danceable, and they add a little bit more weight onto them. If you're gonna have a metal tribute, you gotta add the metal somewhere. I felt like the metal was added more on the drum sound because it was more consistent song in and song out throughout the entire record. The guitars came a little bit in between those two worlds, and they were not as consistently heavy or as consistently driven, or at least creating an impact consistently across each and every single song. They varied depending on what the track offered, depending on where the original went. The guitars either played more of a secondary role, or they played a role that paired up with the drums in order to have that thick sound be the underlining of everything else that was happening. One element that I thought was perhaps the most interesting of them all is the vocals. The vocal performance on this record is outstanding. It works extremely well. They used layers, dubbing, backing vocals, choirs, all the things that you would expect from an ABBA song as far as the original is concerned. they kept it in this format. They didn't strip down. Just because they only have one vocalist doesn't mean that they have to take that more stripped down approach, and I'm glad that they didn't, because if they just went with one single vocal performance or one single vocal line across each and every single song, it would feel very depleted as far as what the original gives, and then as far as where the cover goes. So you want these songs to stay as close to the original as possible, not just musically but vocally, but at the same time feeling different. And I felt like the way they approach the vocals allows them to be able to do that. I really enjoyed that aspect of feeling like there was more than one vocalist present, even though that was not the case. Added life, added energy. It made the song stay very close to home, and once again, this allows the overall record to have a much bigger impact, specifically with fans of metal and fans of ABBA. But the vocal performance itself was phenomenal. It's not easy to sing these songs, it's not easy to perform these songs, and it's definitely not easy to put a vocal performance like this that adds value to what the originals had, and it adds value to what this whole album is all about. All around, I really enjoyed this record. I'm a big fan of ABBA, so this album to me felt like it wasn't a surprise actually, but it felt needed. This is a band that's done ABBA cover before, so I was expecting them at some point in time to perhaps continue to do them or add a few here and there at the end as bonus tracks to some of their albums. I wasn't necessarily expecting a full record full of them, but I'm happy that they did because they nailed it. They nailed it. This album is really interesting, is really fun to listen to. I really enjoyed it. After listening to it multiple times, I was like, I gotta go watch Mamma Mia now because I feel like I'm just on this ABBA train. But I really enjoyed the performance. I really enjoyed the song composition. I really enjoyed the sound that they created for this record. And I also enjoyed the fact that they didn't throw in some of the more classic songs like Dancing Queen. I feel like it's been overplayed. It's been overly done. So to go with different tracks, to go with songs that I wasn't expecting to see there, that was a nice surprise. And it made the album feel a lot better. It made the album feel a lot lighter, more energetic, more engaging, because it didn't have that sense of repetition that listening to Dancing Queen again on another tribute album perhaps would offer. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I have to start off with Super Trouper. This is the opening track on the record. The vocal layer is perfect on this track. It really gives you that experience of having multiple vocalists. The choirs deliver as well. They add to what the original was all about, and they enhance what the original did. So it stays true to the original, but at the same time feeling like something different was added on top of it. Using the keys to blend in the overall sound with the guitars and drums becomes a little bit of the cornerstone of what the whole album is going to be all about. So this song kind of sets all the parameters, not just musically but vocally, of what the whole record is going to be, and that is the perfect way to get started. There's not going to be many surprises as far as the approach. There might be surprises as far as the specific execution within certain songs. After that, I have to say S.O.S. I mean, that's one of my favorite ABBA songs of all time. I was really happy to see it on this compilation, and they did a phenomenal job with that song. The drums and guitars on that track have a little bit more bite together. They feel a little bit thicker, they feel a little bit more driven. I'll still allow the keys to play a role with them and around them, but you cannot deny the metal sound on this track really comes to the forefront more than it does in a few other songs, and that allows it to stand out. It allows the song to feel a little bit bigger, to feel a little bit thicker, more robust, heavier, you could say. The volume and texture that those three elements combining together give the song is really important. Feeling like you're having two vocalists on the track, not just one, also very important from a vocal perspective, and trying to stay as close to that ABBA sound as possible. Last but not least, my favorite song on this compilation, Lay All Your Love on Me. Closing track, a track that is so good that after it finishes you're like, okay, I have to press play again because I gotta listen to this whole record again so I can get back to this song. Great track. The energy of this song is through the roof. The vocal performance, this in my humble opinion is the best vocal performance on the album. This song nails it vocally through and through. Musically as well, stays very connected to the original, doesn't take a lot of liberties with it, but the vocals is what sells you on this song. The vocals are the calling card of this track. The way they were put together, the way they were arranged within the song, within the overall soundscape, absolutely phenomenal. What a closing track. This is it, Amberian Dawn, Take a Chance, a metal tribute to ABBA, out December 2nd on Napalm Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles, on ABBA, on Mamma Mia the movie, Everything ABBA is allowed in this comment section today. So let's go, let's do it. I'll see you guys at the next video.